Welcome to My Hard Drive Died, episode number 6. We're here with Scott Moulton, hard drive expert, wizard, guru, any word that you could think of, which means an absolute master of something. I think Scott is that of hard drives. How you doing, Scott?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Very good. And today we're going to talk about data recovery diagnostics, knowing where to start and stop. Scott recently gave a speech at Freaknik, and Scott, why don't you tell us what Freaknik is and what the speech was about, basically?
Okay, Freaknik is a small con that's done in Nashville, and it is, I think it's like the second longest running computer con that's in existence or something. This is its 13th year. It's usually 250, 300 people, and it's done at a Days Inn there. It's kind of a rundown Days Inn, so we take over the whole hotel. And this is my second or third year there, and it kind of has like a little sister con that kind of goes on 6 months later. In March, there'll be one called Outer Zone, and so Outer Zone will be in Atlanta, my hometown. So I'll give a talk there as well. But they kind of go together. But it's a small con, and I did a talk on data recovery diagnostics, and it's like most other cons where most of the topics, technical topics, will be going on, but there will also be some other things. Like somebody gave a talk on how to hack coffee, and there's a guy who does all kinds of music and stuff as well. So there'll be 2 or 3 musicians there doing a talk on music, or actually physically doing a little concert inside the place.
Really? What do you mean coffee?
Basically, how you can go through the process of baking, roasting your own coffee, and then trying to actually do it from a green bean so that you can get a better flavor out of your coffee, as opposed to actually going to a Starbucks or something. One of the points they made is that Starbucks used to do like tap and press. They used to actually grind your coffee there, and then they'll press it and tap it, and it made for a really fresh cup of coffee. But I guess because of economic times and the amount of time it takes to actually do that, they've stopped doing it. And so apparently a lot of the Starbuckses aren't doing that now. So you're not getting that fresh brew. You're getting, just the same thing you would if you ground your own.
I wonder if people realize that. I bet you they didn't lose any business from that.
No, I bet not. I bet there's a lot of people who just don't even know the difference. They're just going for whatever. But when you actually have a really fresh, because basically what ends up happening is you do your coffee, you roast your own coffee. It takes about 12 minutes to roast it from a green bean. And then you basically let your coffee bean sit like 6 to 8 hours. And so the next day, basically, they're going to be right. It's kind of like letting wine breathe or something. So, so the next morning, your coffee, as soon as you grind it, it will be one of the best flavors that you've ever had. I mean, it's kind of like, if you went to an island and had a fresh banana, it's going to be different than the banana that you're going to get at the grocery store. Right. It's the same kind of idea.
That's, what, when you said hacking coffee, I'm like, I felt like an idiot. I'm like, oh, great. Coffee is this language, of programming language, or something that I have no idea about.
Well, it's funny you say that, because there is something called Coffee, Microsoft Coffee, which is Microsoft makes a tool for forensics that's called Coffee. And it's a conglomeration of all these scripts and things that run together. And,
really?
And it's typically only given out to law enforcement. So there is something that's called that. But it's just kind of funny. But yeah, no, we really meant like real coffee, not like a computer thing, right?
You know what else I wanted to ask you? Freaknik, like a con like that. Are the small ones like that? Like, you're doing a rundown Days Inn or whatever. Are they more fun than doing the big ones, or how does it compare to doing like a big con?
Well, yeah, it is. It's really fun, because one of the things is that you're not really stressed out. You're not really, like, when you're doing a big con, or I go to do even something like even something that's kind of still a little on the low rent side, but thousands of people, like DEF CON or something like that.
Yeah,
there's still 3,000 people in the room, and there's still a lot that it's kind of expected for you to put on this show. And not that I put on a different show because I'm doing it at Freaknik, but I can be a little freer with what I say,
right,
and be a little more spontaneous with I don't know, ripping up on some people or something, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more fun. Plus, it's a smaller environment, so you pretty much get to know everybody. And so that really makes a difference, too, that you can actually talk to your audience, and you can be a part of the audience or know somebody in the audience and make a comment with regards to what they do for a living. So
Cool.
So that does make it a little bit different. And that's the other big thing, is that when there's 3,000 people, you can't shake everybody's hand. But when there's 200 people, the ones that are interested in coming to talk to you, you can actually have a conversation with without having to, cover the whole arena.
Right. Oh, neat. Neat. I gotta go see one of your talks one of these days when you're in my area.
In the outer zone that'll be here in Atlanta, it's going to be, usually it happens the first weekend of March. So it'll be here in Atlanta, and it'll be a small kind of low rent hotel again. It'll be, $69 a night thing. But it's only going to be about 75 or 100 people. So that's a perfect environment for people to come and meet and talk about things. And actually, even sometimes get into the details, like showing you how something works or taking it apart on site.
Wow. Neat. All right. If anybody's interested and they're in the area, check Scott out there. And as far as your speech here, this is great. I didn't listen to the actual file. What do you have it as an MP3 file, or you just have the slides here?
No, it's actually a video. The video is actually online. It hasn't made it to YouTube yet, but it's made it over to Blip TV. Okay. So if anybody wants the link right now is posted on my Twitter account or on it's also on my Facebook account. But if anybody wants to look at those, they'll have the link. That's where I post it first, and then in a couple of days, it'll actually make it to YouTube and to my website. Cool.
And then the best way, if you want to follow along with this podcast now, we're going to roughly follow his speech and the slides that went along with it. And can you give the URL, Scott, for where to get the slides?
Yeah. Basically, you go to myharddrivedied.com, and the easiest way to find the page is if you go to the presentation page. I list my current speeches that I'm giving, and at the top, you'll see Freaknik. And if you click on Freaknik, it'll take you to the page about the speech, and then at the top, there'll actually be a link for the slides. So it'll actually say, download the large presentation slides here.
Yeah, it says PDF big 39 meg, so it might take a minute or two, but I was looking through the slides, really neat. And the title of the speech, according to the slides, is Do It Yourself Data Recovery Diagnostics, Knowing Where to Start and Stop. And let me see if I could pull down. Oh, yeah, here's the theme. The theme that you started out with when you're doing this talk is Things That Suck, which I think I'm going to title the name of this podcast this week, Things That Suck.
Things That Suck,
yeah.
Yep.
So, why don't you start going through, basically the slides in your speech, and I'll chime in and follow along with you, and we'll go along with this.
Well, one of my big goals for this talk, because basically all the other speeches that I gave everywhere, that there's 50 or 60 hours of YouTube videos out there, have all been after the diagnostics phase. They've always been, oh, look, now I've got a broken hard drive. Here's how you fix it. And I started out with, well, if you knew what was wrong with it. So if you knew you had a bad head, this is what you do to repair it.
Right.
So I never really took that step back and actually said, okay, well, look, I get these emails all the time that actually say, oh, I think I need to replace a head. But there's a lot of things that people aren't taking into consideration before they do that. They just jump right in feet first and they start replacing heads. And so I wanted to try to get that information out there to tell them, slow down and stop for a second and think through this process a little bit. And so I kind of outlined some content with regards to